وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَاكَ سَبْعًا مِنَ الْمَثَانِي وَالْقُرْآنَ الْعَظِيمِ. That indeed we have given you 7 often repeated ones, وَالْقُرْآنَ الْعَظِيمِ, and the great Qur'an. This is episode 1 in a 7 video series on 7 surahs which are often repeated. These short surahs that we usually use in our salah, the first that we learn as reverts to Islam, and some of the first that we teach our children as well when they're learning to pray. We'll cover in this series Surah Al-Fatiha, Surah Al-Asr, Surah Al-Kawthar, and the 4 Quls, as in Surah Al-Kafirun, Surah Al-Ikhlas, Surah Al-Falaq, and Surah Al-Nas. Every single video in this series will have a beautifully designed free flashcard set for you guys. You can learn all the vocabulary, they look like this, in these beautiful short surahs of the Qur'an as well, just as a little gift from us to you guys, the students of the Arabic language. As I say, they're completely for free, and I'll put a link in the description for them below, or if you're listening on the podcast, they'll be in the show notes, inshallah. So let's begin with Surah Al-Fatiha. Because of this ayah from Surah Al-Hijr, and this word mathani, often repeated, is used a number of times in the Qur'an actually, and the Mufassirin, almost all of them, say that it refers to Surah Al-Fatiha, because Surah Al-Fatiha has how many ayat? It has 7 in it. So sab'an min al-mathani, 7 oft-repeated ones, is a reference to the 7 ayat in Surah Al-Fatiha. So let's begin doing kind of a word for word through the surah. So Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim is an ayah of this surah. It needs to be as well for it to be sab'an min al-mathani, for it to be 7 ayat. Without it, it would only be 6 ayat. So Bismillahi. This bi at the beginning is a simple harf, and it's often mistranslated actually. Because when we think about saying in the name of God, we say in, so we think bi means in. But bid is not in. Typically in Arabic you use fi for in. Bi means by, really. If we think of it as by the name of Allah, or by means of Allah's name, if we think of it like that, we're reciting by Allah's name, right? Bismi, in the name of. So a really common mistake students make with the word ism is they think it begins with a hamzatul qata', a at the beginning, but there's not. It's a hamzatul wasl, bismi. We don't have to say bi'ismi, bismi, bismillahi, in the name of Allah, bismillahi, okay? Manillah, who is Allah? Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim are 2 descriptions of Allah, which are usually translated as something like the most compassionate, the most merciful. These 2 words actually do share the same root letters, ra, ha, and mim. Rahima is a verb meaning to be merciful upon something. Usually we use the harf ala with it, rahima ala, have mercy upon. But Rahman and Rahim, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Or if we take a more modern translation, like the Majestic Qur'an, for example, by Musharraf Hussain, he simplifies these words a bit by calling Allah the kind and the caring with Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. So, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, or literally by the name of Allah, the most kind, the most caring, or the most compassionate, the most merciful. Then we get into Alhamd, where we get one of the names of the surah of the Qur'an. Alhamd means the praise. And if you put this alif and lam at the beginning, where one of the things it can mean in Arabic is that as a concept. Okay, if we talk about al-hub, love, let's say, al-hub, love, al-ghadab, anger, al-maut, death, al-hayat, life. We're talking about the concept of it, that this thing is inherently dedicated to something else in the case of Alhamdu Lillahi. Now, Alhamdu Lillahi, we think of this as a dua, we think of it as we can say Alhamdulillah. It's one of the most praiseworthy things that a person can say. But it's also a statement of fact. Alhamd is for Allah. Alhamd is for nothing other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This, in terms of Arabic language, in terms of the grammar, Alhamdu, if you ever have a word that begins with al and is in the marfu'a case, meaning it ends in a dhamma, alhamdu, as-salamu, for example, we call this in Arabic a mubtada. It is the word which is starting. This word mubtada comes from the word bidaya, really. It's the beginning. It's the thing at the beginning of the sentence. Alhamd, the praise is lillahi. It is for Allah. Alhamdulillahi. And also, who is Allah? You know, a common thread that we have in this surah is that we are coming to know Allah. That's one of the kind of main objectives of the surah, really, is to tell us who is Allah, What should we know about Allah? What should we be always reminding ourselves about Allah? That He is Rabbil Alameen. He is the Lord, not just of Al-Alam in the singular, Al-Alameen. He is Lord of all of the worlds, not just the world of the humans, also the world of the jinn, and any other world we can think of, right? He is the Lord of all of those worlds. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Now, what we're going to see here is the same way we have Alhamdulillahi. We're going to have some descriptions of Allah here, and you'll notice that all of them end in kasras because they could all be used interchangeably in a way. The same way we say Alhamdulillahi, we could also say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, but it would still make sense grammatically. All praise is due to the Lord of the world, just as we said Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. And then in the next ayah, there's only two words. We have again repeated Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, again with kasras on the end. So it's like saying Alhamdulillahi, but also Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, and also Alhamdulillah Rahman, and also Alhamdulillah Rahim. Okay, we have four words here which are all descriptions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and even captured into the grammar of these very ayat is that they're all characteristics of Allah, and and they're all closely tied to who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. But it doesn't even stop there actually. We have Maliki Yawmiddin, in a sense, like the grammar would even make sense if we said Alhamdu li Maliki Yawmiddin, or to Maliki Yawmiddin, depending on which qira'ah you're reading from, right? So we have, here's also the Malik, or the Malik of the Yawm of the Deen, Maliki Yawmiddin. The day, he is the owner or the king of the day of a deen. We think of the word deen to mean the religion, and it does mean that. But when we say Yawmuddin, or in this case Yawmiddin, we are referring to the day of recompense. I mean, recompense is kind of an archaic word in English. We don't sort of talk about recompense, generally speaking. But what it is closely tied to is actually a debt. In Arabic, we use the word dain for a debt to another person. So it's the day in which the debts will be paid. If you have been backbiting against somebody, you will have to repay your debt to them of the honor you've taken from them. You will maybe have to pay it back in your good deeds. It is the day in which the debts will be settled. There will be no injustice left. It is the day of a deen. It is the day of recompense. Okay, now we go into something really interesting in the Arabic language after this. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Okay, so what we're saying here is it is you that we worship. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, and it is you that we seek help from. So in the Arabic language, if we're usually using a person as the object of a verb, if I'm saying I see you or I help you, we'll usually put the object at the end of the verb. So for example, I see you, araka, I see you, or I help you, usa'iduka. But what we have here is we have the ka before the verb. Now, ka is what we call a damir muttasil. It's a connecting one, so we can't really have it not connected to anything. We can't say ka na'budu, you we worship. Wa ka nasta'inu. We have to have this word iyya, and that is the job of iyya here. The job of iyya is that it puts what we call an object pronoun before the verb. So in English, because we don't really have connected pronouns like this, it's very easy for us to say, you we worship, you we ask for help. But in Arabic, that you needs to be connected to an iyya. So that's why we have iyyaka na'budu instead of just na'buduka, and iyyaka nasta'inu rather than just nasta'inuka. I mean, the language would make sense if Allah had just said na'buduka wa nasta'inuka. We worship you and we seek your help. But we actually put the iyyaka before for a reason, okay? Because we're focusing that. That is the thing we're focusing on. If we were to say na'buduka, the focus is on the nahnu, the we, because it's what comes first. But we want to put it is you that we worship. It is you that we ask for help. In terms of the verbs, this first one is quite simple. Na'budu comes from the verb abada, to worship. Abada ya'budu, in the present tense, he worships. Na'budu, we worship. But the second verb requires a little bit more explanation, maybe. So the root letters of this word, nasta'inu, are ayn, waw, and noon. A'un is a word for help. So if you ista'ana, it means you seek help. This ista prefix is to do with seeking something. So when you say istaghfirullah, for example, this istaghfara is seeking maghfirah, right? Because it has this istar at the beginning. So nasta'inu, we seek help. Nasta'inu, from ista'ana, nasta'inu. And there's lots of other words actually that share this, share these root letters, which are very useful in Arabic. For example, at-ta'awun. At-ta'awun, it means cooperation. It's used in the imperative sometimes as well. وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى, and cooperate upon birri wa taqwa. Okay, the next ayah, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. اهدنا, from the hada yahdi, ihdi, ihdina, ihdina, guide us. There's other words for guiding in Arabic. You might have heard of, for example, we talk about al-khulafa al-rashidun, being rashid. It means someone who is guiding. But al-hidayah is sort of perhaps maybe spiritual guidance mainly, al-hidayah. So we're saying ihdi, guide us to what? Sirata. So we would usually expect to say ihdina ila sirat al-mustaqim. Right? We'd expect guide us to it. But there's no harf after this ihdi. After ihdina, it's just guide us the straight path. So we have the meaning in here of not just guide us to it, but guide us upon it. Because even when you get to a straight path, it's not necessarily easy to remain upon it. So by Allah not using a harf here, it kind of incorporates all of them. Guide us to it, guide us upon it, guide us along it, guide us in it, guide us for it. Like all of these different meanings are encapsulated in ihdina sirata al-mustaqim. So sirat is a path. It is a straight path. It is the sirat is a path, let's say, and then because we have al-mustaqim afterwards, which means straight, we know that it's a straight path. Al-mustaqim. Yeah, mustaqim is a term that you can use outside of the Quran as well, of course, to just mean flat or straight. Even in the gym in Arab countries, you'll talk about like if the bench is flat, that it's mustaqim, or if you're using a bar, an asa, in a gym, they'll call it mustaqim as well for it being straight as well. So it's applicable in kind of more everyday settings as well in the Arabic language. So ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Ihdi, guide us. Ihdi na sirata, the path. Al-mustaqim, the straight. As-sirat al-mustaqim. So it's actually a sifa and a mawsuf. This mustaqim is describing the sirat. Okay, now we come to al-ayat al-sabi'ah. We come to the 7th ayah. Okay, what kind of sirat? We've learned that this sirat is as-sirat al-mustaqim. It is the straight path. What else? Sirat al-ladhina. The path which. Al-ladhina, the part of those who have. This is actually a dafa construction going on here. That's why sirata doesn't have al at the beginning. Sirata, because it's a mudaf. Al-ladhina, the path of those who. The path of al-ladhina. An'amta, you have blessed. The verb an'ama means to bless somebody else. I mean, of course, a very commonly used word is the word ni'mah. A ni'mah is a blessing, the plural of which is ni'am. But the verb an'ama means to bless somebody, and you usually say an'ama ala, to bless literally upon somebody. So an'amta, an'amta, anta, you, O Allah, an'amta alayhim, the path of those whom you have blessed upon them. You blessed upon them. Okay, so that is the path of the people that we want to be guided, right? I'm deliberately not saying guided to, because Allah didn't say ihdina ila sirati. It's literally guide us the path. But not this group of people. Ghayri. Ghayr, it means sort of other than or not these individuals. Okay? Ghayr al-maghdubi. Not the maghdub. Man al-maghdub. This word is from the verb ghadiba, meaning to be angry or to have wrath. Al-maghdubi alayhim is those in which the wrath is upon them or the anger is upon them. Yes, you can ghadiba min usually, to be angry at somebody. But if you're talking about the wrath being upon somebody, we'll use ala. So maghdubi alayhim, those who have incurred your wrath, the wrath upon them people. Maghdubi alayhim, and nor these other people. Wala, and nor ad-dallin, the people who are dallin, people who have gone astray, the people who are in dilal, they're in misguidance or they have gone astray. So let me run through it one more time, and inshallah, this time you guys will have a bit more appreciation from an Arabic language perspective of what is being said. So firstly, we have Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'inu. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqima. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. And we only need to say Ameen if it's actually in the Salah. So those are, as is referred to in the Quran, سبعا من المثاني, the 7 often repeated, because of course we repeat this surah at least 17 times a day for any Muslim, right? So that is everything for this particular video. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to get your free flashcards as well to learn all of the vocabulary in this surah. We will continue up with this, giving you guys these free flashcards as well as a little extra bonus as you go through this entire series, inshallah. So I really look forward to seeing you guys next Thursday, inshallah, for our next surah in this series, which will be Surah Al-Asr. So I'll see you then, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.